Well, welcome to day 8 of my trip, my version of the Southern Tier bicycle ride. This is actually the second half of my ride. I rode to this spot previously and then picked it up for this ride. What you're watching right now is the relived version of the ride, showing how it was all uphill until 2/3 of the way through the ride, and essentially all downhill where I ended the day. And the downhill part actually was very enjoyable and went by fairly quickly. So there's the overview. And note that it says day 9, but it's day 8. I'm going to stop on it. And I'll be silent for a second here.
That would be my guess. Like I say,
So wait here half an hour and then drive.
Oh, I wouldn't wait half an hour. It's up to you if I could do it.
Well, I'll see you at the corner. The closest place to turn off once you hit the corner. Okay, go into Tucson.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have is now the official start of this part of the ride.
What's that?
And I'm just riding where I stopped before into Oro Valley so that I can get a jump start on our ride. We're actually going to go back home tonight where my wife has a church activity to attend, and then we'll drive tomorrow to where I stopped today. Now, you'll see how well this shows it. This was a perfect day for a ride, and the weather was only going to start getting colder after this. Again, right here, it's all uphill, but it's a very gentle up, so it's not tough. What I point out later is that the wildflowers are blooming alongside the road, and if you look carefully, you'll see that most of them are purple. There's some white ones intermingled, and this ride is the perfect example of the Sonoran Desert, and anybody riding across Arizona really wants to experience this, where you have cactus pretty much everywhere, just like a forest. And it's actually very nice to see. This area isn't near as bad as traveling across the flatlands where there's just no scenery whatsoever. At least here you have different cactus to look at along with these wildflowers that are blooming. And it actually looks green. This time of the year is normally much warmer than this, and so we had an unusual amount of rain. So I've cut out a lot of the trip, but I'm trying to show the overall view of the cactus. You may or may not be able to see the small mountains in the distance at some point, but all in all, it's a very pleasant drive, except for the fact that it's not quite wide enough shoulder. The shoulder, even though it looks to be a little wider than it is, I wasn't sure exactly how firm it was, so I rode as close to the white line as I could. what you probably don't see is that I do have a Garmin rear radar on my bicycle, so I can see when cars are approaching me normally, as well as my helmet mirror. And I will move over further off the white line when they come by. That just makes it a lot easier. Because this is a two-way road, the only real danger I had were cars passing other cars as they're coming towards me, and they're just assuming I'm not a threat to them. There was one time on this day where that exact happened, and as I waved at him, fortunately he moved over prior to passing me, so it wasn't any real issue. All in all, this was a really pleasant day, but the thing to be aware of between Florence and Oro Valley, there is absolutely nothing, no surfaces or anything. So you basically have to make sure you're good to go with water and food. Although, quite frankly, it doesn't take that long. So you should not have a problem. Traveling from Florence to Oro Valley in one day should be fairly simple, except during the summertime when it's extremely hot. You actually have several areas where you can stop and picnic and eat lunch. Hopefully I'll show some of them, but because I broke the ride up, I don't know if I do or not. And as I said, here you can see the purple flowers, making a very, very enjoyable ride. And then you have all the various cactus all around. What's interesting that this ride didn't show was because we had a lot of rain, the Seguro cactus bloomed like you wouldn't believe, and this is like a once in a 10-20 year event where everything, all the cactus were blooming, probably to the extent of 10 to 20 times more than they normally do. By that I mean where they might have 1 or 2 blooms on a Seguro, they may have as many as 20 or 30. It's really quite nice, but you can't see it here, and they started blooming after this flower. So you wouldn't see it here. Again, the weather was good on this day. It wasn't windy, it wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. Perfect bike riding conditions. And the traffic on this road is not that heavy, so it's a simple ride. I've never gone down this road when it's been really congested in traffic. So here we are. Again, the bike I'm riding is an e-bike, which is pedal assist, meaning that if you don't pedal, the motor doesn't put out any energy to assist your pedaling. It essentially stop. The level of assist on level 1 assist is essentially the same as riding a regular bike, but a little better, so that when you ride level 1 assist, it's making it so that you can travel the furthest and get the most miles. So for instance, the bike I'm riding, which is a Specialized Creo, could get up to 80 miles on level 1 assist. That is dramatically reduced if you go to level 2 to level 3 of assist. Now you'll notice I carry my water bottles on my handlebars. I don't know many people that do that, but I carry 2 water bottles, one with Gatorade and one with water. And if I'm by myself, I carry an additional 2 water bottles in the back in my bike bag. But having my wife following me, I don't need to do that. Then I also carry energy gels and some bars to eat. So anything I eat on the road, I have in my pockets. Now, again, this is just simply very first day. And I'm just enjoying the ride itself. I strongly recommend, even if you don't go in the southern tier, that you take time if you're in Arizona to ride in this area. Where I stop is actually near the beginning of the Tucson bike trail. They have a beautiful system of bicycle trails in Tucson, some of the nicest I've seen. And I'll be taking the Tucson bike trail tomorrow, down from Oro Valley into Tucson, and then around Tucson along the dry riverbed to the south end of Tucson, just off the 10, where I'll be spending the night. Again, this is a beautiful area to ride, and I did not feel unsafe at all during my ride. I do admit that the end of the ride on this day was a lot better because I had a wider shoulder and I was going downhill. Maybe at this time I should mention that I actually rode from San Diego to Florence the previous year, and we stopped for some health reasons, things that were going on at the time. And I'm not so worried about doing this all in one trip anyhow. I originally had planned on it, and when I started, quite frankly, I was doing it in October and the weather was so hot, it just became unenjoyable. One day in California, my bike thermometer read 119 when I stopped riding that day. But so I thought I'd try it in March, and then COVID hit, and that kind of slowed everything down dramatically. So here we are. The problems that had me stopping on the first third of the ride no longer exist. So I guess technically it was the first quarter of the ride, just from San Diego to the Phoenix area, which is where I live in Florence. Now, the reason I don't follow the true southern tier route is because I don't really want to take the northern ride. It takes you up through Globe and up to Stafford, and I don't particularly like that road for safety reasons. I don't think the shoulder's wide enough for the amount of traffic they get on that road. And they even took you through a spot that I guarantee I would never ride ever. That's just right outside the Phoenix area. It's a beautiful, beautiful area for bike riding, but the nice area stops, and then there's essentially no shoulder and you're riding uphill. And you get a lot of traffic some days, and big motorhomes especially, and there's just no room. So I haven't been overly desirous to ride in that way, but I may just take time to ride from the Phoenix Northern Route up to Globe one time and see how that goes. And the other reason is I don't have to worry about where I stop, so I don't need campgrounds because we're in a motorhome. And I'm just doing this to do it as an accomplishment. And for the most part, a lot of the freeway for me is safer to ride than a lot of these roads. Now, having said that, some of the freeway has terrible shoulders, gets really bumpy, where the side roads may or may not be better than that. But here, again, I'm repeating myself, this is just worthwhile to ride this area. Now, this half of the day is almost over, and the ride's going to end when I get up to my wife here very shortly. And then I'll show the second half of day 8 of the southern, my version of the southern tier. If you've stayed watching this long, thank you. And well, it looks like I'm just ending it right here. Have a good day, and please watch part 2 where I'll continue on. Thank you.